What's up, everybody? Welcome back inside the Horseshoe on a late Saturday night. It was Ohio State 77. Tim, 77 to Toledo 21. That's Tim May, of course, as always, the 40-year vet. This is just Spencer Holbrook. We're going to break down that game, everything we learned. Not everything quite, Tim, because we'll be back on Monday here outside the Horseshoe for more. But Tim, first thoughts is Ohio State blitzed Toledo, almost set a school record for total yardage, and came up with 77 points on the board as Ryan Day kind of unloaded the offensive clip there.
Yeah, what a weird start to this game, though, because Ohio State comes right out of the chute, wins the coin toss, takes the ball. I think they won the coin toss, but anyway, they took the ball, something Ryan Day has rarely, if ever, done as the Ohio State head coach, because all week long he was telling his players, and his players were talking back to him. They want to be aggressive tonight. They want to come out of the chute fast, get it done, score a touchdown, keep moving, and lo and behold, that's exactly what they did. And everybody's going crazy in 105,000 people on hand for this Toledo game. They're going crazy, most of them, except those 1,000 or so from Toledo. And you're going, wow, now that's the start you're looking for from Ohio State, right?
Yeah.
Then what did Toledo do?
That's the start you're looking for from Toledo.
Daquan Finn, their elusive running quarterback, bingo bango, does some magic, and they come back and match the score at 7-7. This game was tied at one point, and so then you're going, okay, they didn't quite get the notice. I'm talking about Ohio State defense on containing that dude, and maybe he's just really good too. I think it was a combo of that. Obviously, they got the notice on containing him, but then Ohio State comes back and scores again on a drive, scores again on a drive, scores. We don't see Jesse Mirko, the punter, until what, late third quarter? They finally punted inside Toledo territory. But yeah, the final score definitely told the story of this game. There were some defenses, a few defensive situations that Ohio State would like to have back that allowed Toledo to get to what, 21? Mm-hmm. But this Ohio State offense was not to be stopped tonight, and what a show, both running and throwing.
Yeah, a couple things there on the defense. You know, the running quarterback, he's really elusive. I don't think they'll see an athlete. Like that the rest of the season. You know, you talk about Toledo, Tagovailoa, talk about JJ McCarthy. You talk about Sean Clifford, who's a pretty good athlete, but Daquan Finn is in a league of his own as far as athletic quarterbacks go, and he's going to hurt a lot of people in the MAC as far as being able to run the ball and throwing it a little bit around the yard. So I don't think Ohio State will really take too much away from that, other than that they have to be better against a mobile quarterback.
Yeah. Contain.
Because, you know, who could they see eventually? Maybe a Bryce Young. Stetson Bennett can move a little bit. We're talking about the elites in college football now. But Daquan Finn is a good player, and Ohio State figured him out there toward the middle of the second quarter into halftime and then after the break. But, you know, this offense, it didn't really matter what the defense did because this offense was not going to be outscored tonight. It was a hot knife through butter from the first play to T.C. Caffey's 50-yard touchdown run. You know, it was just, again, a hot knife through butter, Tim. This offense could not be stopped.
Yeah, and one of the things that stood out for sure, you know all the obvious about the great stats for C.J. Stroud. Again, over 350 yards throwing. I'm sorry, I still have a lingering cough from my whole situation with my cold this past week, so if I cough, pardon me. But, 5 touchdown passes. Marvin Harrison Jr. and Emeka Egbuka picking up where they left off a week ago, showing that, yes, Jackson Smith and Jigba and Julian Fleming coming back gave them a full Zone 6 room this week and for this game. But clearly, Marvin Harrison Jr. and Emeka Egbuka have established themselves as two of the better receivers in the country.
Yes.
So that's what they have going for them into their league opener next week against Wisconsin. But one of the things that really stood out was kind of what happened last year a lot, but Ryan Day says it's not exactly the same thing, but Travion Henderson got in, showed some promise early in that game, and suddenly he's standing on the sideline like he did many times last year without his helmet, which means he's not going back in the game. Mayan Williams picks up the slack. Wow, Mayan Williams puts on a show every time he's in there from a hard running standpoint and everything else. But then here's the next guy. You got to have a backup running back. Dallin Hayden, freshman from Memphis, takes over as that backup running back, ends up being the leading ball carrier in the game, unless there in the end one of those two guys went ahead of him because of some big-time runs. But my point was Dallin Hayden showed what he was all about, was a late enrollee, if that's what you call a guy coming in June is now.
Yes.
Used to be
standard enrollee.
Yeah, welcome. But now, but the way he came in, House of Fire, they had to almost slow him down a little bit. And now they're going to be relying on him because you never know whatever Travion Henderson is dealing with. Ryan Day's not going to tell us. We may find out. But the bottom line is Dallin Hayden stepped up into the big show and got it done. And like C.J. Stroud told me when I asked him, I said, "Do you have any words for him?" And he goes, when they went back out on the field that first time in the backfield, he just told him, "Hey, take a deep breath with me. This is a moment. Take a deep breath with me." Dallin Hayden did that. Next thing you know, he's running like he's been running for years.
Yeah, and Ryan Day talked about Dallin Hayden trying to build up that trust with Tony Alford, and it starts with taking care of the football. I think that might be a little bit of messaging to Dallin Hayden, say, hey, this is what happens when you take care of the football. Maybe there's been some fumble issues. We've heard that in the past from Ryan Day. Talking about guys who take care of the football, get the football. If Dallin Hayden can do that again, I know this was Toledo, it was a MAC opponent, and it was probably the worst defense Ohio State will face maybe this season. That was as far as the ease that Ohio State moved the ball, Toledo had no answer. And so I shouldn't say worst, but I will say there will be defenses that have answers far better than Toledo had, because it seemed like no matter what Ohio State did, Toledo simply could not answer. I should have worded that better too.
Yeah. Toledo's defensive line was actually pretty good in my opinion.
Yes.
Well, I think a combo here tonight is Toledo hadn't played anybody until tonight.
Yep.
They were number 4 in the country in total defense. So people kept talking about that all week,
Not
like
anymore,
that mattered.
Not anymore.
They had played Massachusetts and Long Island, who couldn't put a team together between them and still beat Toledo. So that's how they had warmed up for this game. Ohio State had beaten Notre Dame and had beaten Arkansas State, where that whole revamped team that was. They were ready for a grizzled defensive line. But what you saw tonight is what I've been, and obviously it was against a 32-point underdog. But what you saw tonight is what I've been expecting from this Ohio State offense from the get-go, and I expect to see it through the year. Maybe not on this big a scale. They only finished 13 yards short of the school record for total yards. I mean, it's crazy tonight what went on in the fourth quarter. But what you saw was, I think, is going to go down as maybe, when this year's played out, the best offense Ohio State has ever put on the field from a balance standpoint, the ability to beat you running and throwing the ball with some studs at several of those positions. And it came to fruition. Too bad for the Toledo Rockets, it came to fruition tonight.
Tim, when you combine the offensive output that Ohio State had tonight and the dual threat, if you will, I think he's more of a runner than a thrower, so I will call him a running quarterback. You combine those two factors, the Ohio State offense not being stopped and the quarterback that Toledo jogged onto the field, for each possession. Ohio State fans won't like this because they want to see perfection of this defense. I'm almost going to give this defense a one-game reprieve or pass. It's harder to play defense when your offense is doing what Ohio State did. It just naturally is. You know that you can give up a little bit. Also, DeQuan Finn was a guy who wanted to put on a show. I'm imagining that was a good audition for some quarterback role in the Power 5 next year. And so those factors...
That's an interesting point.
Those factors all together, it might not be what Ohio State fans want to hear, but I think it's what people need to hear, is that you naturally don't play as well defensively when you know that your offense is going to score again. We've seen that so many times in the past. And so for this defense to give up 21 points with the amount of possessions that Toledo had, you think about the amount of times Toledo got the ball back, and to only score on 3 of those possessions, you only even get close on 3 of those possessions. They didn't even sniff the red zone on any of those other possessions. I thought that was impressive from the Ohio State defense to rally, and from that, with 11 minutes to go, Toledo had 7 points in the first quarter. In the final 55 minutes of this game, Toledo had 14 points and only 2 drives that even looked like they were assembling anything sort of offense, and that's impressive from this Ohio State defense, whether there's things to improve or not.
You know what's funny is, as you were talking about that, what flashed through my head is, I don't know if offensive lines sometimes do this, but whether they kind of take a guy and try to work him wide, talking about a defensive end or something, to create a scene for DeQuan Finn if he in fact decides to step up and run, because it looked like that several times tonight. It was like a scramble run, but wasn't really. You know what I mean? And once Ohio State kind of got that sorted out, but the thing about it is he's kind of like dynamite, man. You may have sorted him out here, may have sorted him out there, but he bounced back and still made some runs, even after those first couple of series. And you kind of go, wow, this guy has some game. One of my buddies, Jeff Snook, texted me. He thinks he may be the best quarterback Ohio State faces this year. I go, I don't know if I'd go that far. But what he's doing for that offense is the real deal. I think he is the best runner they're going to face. You might agree, like you just said a while ago, from a quarterback standpoint. So that's another thing, an eye-opener for this new defense. There's some plays they definitely want back. 21 points is no laughing matter, no matter how you give them up. But I think you're right. There was a learning moment for that new defense, that new 4-2-5 defense, and with new safeties in the game, playing full-time for the first time, like Cam Martinez. I thought Cam Martinez played extremely well tonight.
Yes.
Tanner McAllister and Josh Proctor were both missing. Mike Hall was missing in the middle. Still haven't gotten a clear expression of why that was. They were dealing with something. But they played that whole game without 3 of their starters defensively, and I thought played, for the most part pretty well, like you said, with the exception of 3 possessions.
I'd like to, I always like to give a little bit of a shout out to some guys I thought played well on first watch. So this is, again, the first time watching it live. We'll have to rewatch it, and we'll get back to you guys on the Monday after. Here, probably inside the Horseshoe again on Monday. I thought Teron Benson played pretty well. Zach Harrison had one of his better games. I thought he played really well, rushing the passer, especially early in the second half. He was teeing off and trying to get to the quarterback. JT Tuimoloau, that speaks for himself. I might just stop saying his name because then I want to give some credit. I know DeQuan Finn got loose a few times, but Tommy Eichenberg and Steel Chambers had a thankless job tonight, a very difficult job in being the spies for him and trying to keep up with him. And to only allow him out the 3 or 4 times that they did to truly break away, I'm going to give a tip of the hat there to Tommy Eichenberg and Steel Chambers. Those are 2 of the you won't find. I'll say this: you will not find a more athletic tandem of linebackers in the country than those 2 together. It's impressive what they do. And then I'll say Cam Martinez played well. I still think there's issues at cornerback, but we'll talk about that some other time.
Can I give one tip of the cap too?
Oh, absolutely. Go ahead.
Teron Vincent. I thought he played his rear end off tonight.
Yep.
Especially with Mike Hall missing, and then Jerron Cage. I was watching those guys a lot tonight. Like you said, it's like sometimes it's a thankless job down there because you're just banging, going after it, banging, going after it. And I thought those guys brought the wood chopper most of the time.
Yeah, and I thought, Lathan Ransom again played a pretty good game. These safeties had a pretty difficult job, missing 2 of their leaders out there, 2 seniors. But they made do with what they had and gave up 14 points in the final 55 minutes. Again, like I said earlier, offensively, we'll definitely talk about Julian Fleming down the road. I'm going to have a story about him on Sunday for LettermenRow.com. Just the way that he bounced back from that injury and the tweak that, really could have saddled him for a long time. Trying to think about being healthy and not being healthy for so long, to come out and have 2 touchdown catches. Well, 1.5. I think that was a catch. He thought it was a catch for sure.
They gave it to him. It's a touchdown catch, ladies and gentlemen. It's official. It is official.
To have Jackson Smith-Njigba back on the field was huge for Ohio State, whether he had a big impact or not. We saw him line up in the backfield tonight, and then you had a touch pass to Myan Williams. Guys, I promise you're going to see Jackson Smith-Njigba in the backfield this year. And then the tip of the cap of all tips of the cap. The man C.J. Stroud is on a different level. Ohio State fans, please appreciate C.J. Stroud. He is so gifted. He puts the ball in crazy places. That throw to Cade Stover over the middle, where he could not have handed the ball to Cade Stover any better.
He looked like he was throwing a golf ball from one end of a bar to the other, just right into the guy's hand, right where he held it. You understand what I'm saying? It was that almost effortless of a 35, 40-yard throw, and you just wow. By the way, speaking of stories, for Sunday, I'm also going to write you up a little story on Dallin Hayden and how important this development is for Ohio State, because you saw tonight in a 77-21 victory for Ohio State how vulnerable you could be on a roster that's only got 3 scholarship running backs on it.
Yeah.
And Dallin Hayden stepping up is huge for this team, heading now into Big Ten play against, Wisconsin, a team known to be physical, et cetera. We'll see what they're all about as we analyze this thing, because I'm not sure they're exactly the Wisconsin of a few years ago. We'll work on that, but Dallin Hayden rising is a big deal.
Yeah, a couple housekeeping notes, Tim. Cameron Brown went to the locker room. Didn't see much of him after that. We'll have to get some updates on him. The Buckeyes are a little banged up right now, Tim. Mike Hall, again, didn't play. Tanner McAllister, Josh Proctor didn't play. We'll try to get as much information on Travion Henderson as we can, but I'm pretty sure the Buckeyes are going to be really coy about that one.
And as you know, Taraji Mitchell was ruled out tonight. The guy who jumped over the shield last week. And then Jordan Hancock, they keep hoping they're going to get good news from him from a hamstring standpoint. Keep reminding people his and Jackson Smith and Jigba, all hamstring injuries are not created equal. Jordan Hancock is dealing with a fairly, tough situation. We'll see how that goes, how that develops.
So, those are the housekeeping notes from Ohio State, 77. I can't believe I keep saying that. Toledo 21. That's Tim May. I'm Spencer Holbrook. Make sure you check us out on the Lettermen Row website, the Lettermen Row YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button, the little bell down below to get the notifications when we post videos, which is about daily at this point. And then we're hanging out in the Lettermen Lounge, guys. There's the message board is always a good place to be. You can ask some questions to us and get the answers. Matt Parker's over there covering all things recruiting as the Buckeyes head into a big recruiting weekend next weekend against Wisconsin. We'll be back here in the Horseshoe for that one at 7:30. That's Tim May. Again, I'm Spencer Holbrook. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we will see you on Monday by the Horseshoe.